Right. Okay, we're recording. What did you do this weekend?
Well, Vicky, this weekend. So I know we've talked about this before. We've talked about the floordrobe and the mess and the
Right.
I was going to say the incontinence then, but we definitely haven't talked about that.
Let's not.
The incompetence, I was going to say. Oh my God, that's an entirely different episode. Right, so
The valid one.
back in the room. So it's like when you really need a wee and then you sneeze and it's like, oh no.
Oh no, yes. I know it gets worse as you get older.
Good. Glad to hear that. Anyway, right. So yeah, what did I do this weekend? So my floordrobe is no more.
What?
I know. So okay. So this coming Friday, which is going to be, actually, this makes no sense I don't know when this is going to go out, but on Friday, the 22nd of March, I am going to / will have done a workshop with a woman called Samantha Harmon on LinkedIn. She's really cool. She's all about like the style and stuff. And it's a workshop all about putting together capsule outfits, which is what I'm terrible at doing. And the idea is, like, her tagline is, I have nothing to wear, has nothing to do with clothes, which which is really good. And so her her whole thing is like, this workshop is going to be all about putting together little capsule outfits with what you've got already. And so I was like, well, I really want, and I signed up to do it because it was like literally 33 quid. And I was like, well, that's a no-brainer. And then I was like, well, there's no point in me doing this workshop if I cannot see any of my clothes and I don't know what I've got. It will be just a waste of 33 quid. So I said to Joe, I told Joe about it, and he was like, well, why don't we sort this out? And at the weekend, I put in my calendar, timetabled it, literally pulling everything out of all my cupboards and drawers and the floordrobe, and like stuff was stuffed in, like I didn't know what was in there. And then we did this for both of us, and we went through it all, and we've got like several bags of textile recycling now that are not good enough for charity shops. Got several bags of charity shop stuff that some of my friends went through last night, and they've had some things out of it, and the rest of it was shop. And then stuff that like didn't fit me anymore, stuff that I was like, what was I thinking when I bought that? And like really boring office clothes and things. And now I have a wardrobe and Joe has a wardrobe, and I've got a gap to put like outfits in. So I'm going to try and do like Monday to Friday outfits. And my whole excuse before was I'm renovating the house and we've got nowhere to put it. And I've just proved myself wrong with that, because now we've got like all the space. And it happened because we timetabled it. Like in the calendar, and Joe helped me because obviously, he had to help me out as well. And so that's what we did this weekend. And now I know what clothes I've got, and I can see them all, except for one pair of orange corduroy dungarees that are like a big garment. Fuck knows where they've gone. Haven't seen them for like several months, and I'm like, where on earth would I have lost a pair of dungarees? Like,
ooh,
who knows? So
wow, the mystery of the orange dungarees. I feel like I want to solve that now. I want to take you back. I want to do some hypnosis regression therapy with you.
Well, and this kind of segues nicely into what we were just talking about, which is like terrible memory problems with ADHD. So this is like two things. It's like the disorganized mess of like life, and specifically my floordrobes, and also this memory is like, what the hell have I done with these dungarees?
Yeah absolutely. No, do you know what, just going back to the wardrobe sorting, I've had some of my most spiritual moments decluttering. And I think it's because it really is the remedy to how I usually act, which is, I mean, Kev's always taken the piss out of my cupboards, and it's literally like, if you can shut the door, then it's fine.
I was just gonna say, do you do that thing where you're like putting stuff in it, it's like and then you close it and you're like, that's definitely somebody else's problem?
Yes, exactly. And he says to me things like, why do you think it's a good idea to balance several big things on top of several small things? And it's just like, well, it's just the order that they are bunged in. There is no physics going on.
Yeah, it's like, it's bold of you to think that I gave that any thought at all.
Exactly. It's just bloody but that moment where you say, no, enough is enough, and you say, I'm gonna do you know what? The last time I did my wardrobe it was last month. I went to IKEA and I bought myself matching fucking hangers.
That's so adult.
It's very adult, and I felt like it was a real luxury because it's not required, really. It's not really needed, but the pleasure it gave me to see all my clothes hanging at precisely the same, level. They were all at the same height, and it just filled me with joy. And I even actually color coded things.
I haven't got that far yet.
But it felt so good to do that. And I know that I mean, last year I went through a process of doing all my cupboards. They all need doing again, but I think one of the main things that needs to happen is simply to have less stuff.
Yeah, and this was it. It was like so much stuff, and like you said, I just felt like I feel lighter. I feel a bit guilty about the amount of stuff I'm getting rid of, but also a lot of it's going to charity, so it'll get reused and stuff. But like, yeah, like, because you said the last time you did it was last month. We moved in 7-8 years ago, and so yeah, it's been that long, and there was stuff in there that I was just like, it's just never going to fit again. And I didn't even bother trying on. And also stuff that was like, and Joe was really good at this because he looked at that and he was like, that looks a bit armpity. You'll hate it. And I can't wear stuff that's tight on my top because it makes me, and we've talked about this before, I think it makes me want to crawl out of my own skin and it makes me feel physically sick and gross. And so he was just like, you're not going to be able to wear that, get rid of it. And so he was really good at it because I was like, but it looks nice. And he's like, yeah, but you're not going to wear it. So
you know what, since we've been having these chats, every time I get something armpity, I think of you. I put it on, I think Vicky wouldn't like this.
Oh, and I had to get rid of this jumper. Oh my gosh, it's a beautiful grey and silver jumper, and it's shot through with silver thread and silver beading, but it's got a really big high polo neck, and that's an absolute not for me, absolute no for me. And it's also wool, which is like a double whammy, and so I was just like, and I had to get rid of it. And I had a bit of a cry, and I was like, oh, I hope one of my friends wants this, and none of them wanted it. And I was just like, that makes me
yeah. Do you know what, that whole thing, like polo neck panic combined with wool, I totally get that.
Yeah.
And I think it might be quite a regular thing for people with sensitivity, because they always look the cuddliest, most wonderful Christmas type jumpers, don't they, to have? And you just imagine yourself like curled up on a sofa with a cup of tea and that kind of thing, but really just makes you want to just kill things.
Yeah, and because I'm such a sweaty person as well, like I've always been like a really sweaty person, and so like, and then oh my god, like even thinking about wet wool, like my fingers got into sweat, and like I'm just like so yeah, and it's just because I'm so sweaty. And it's just terrible.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's because like I'm super anxious. Like my anxiety makes me sweat more, and it's just the worst kind of sweat as well. So like when you've been working out, that's like a healthy sweat, and it's like you just smell like you've been doing stuff. But anxiety sweat is like the worst, most disgusting smell. That it's like terrified animal smell. So yeah,
you set off all your pheromones.
I don't know. I don't think it's pheromones. It's like something died under my skin and then oozed out. So yeah. Anyway.
Take swigs. Yeah. The process, once you actually get into it, it's such a cleansing feeling, isn't it? Getting rid of stuff that's been in your way.
It really is. I feel lighter, and I can see everything that I've got, and it all fits, and it's not bundled in, and it just feels like less stuff. It weighs you down, stuff does, doesn't it?
It really does. It really does. And not just physical clutter, but mental clutter as well, isn't it? If you can let go of some things. And I think, if we're going to sort of like segue beautifully into memory issues.
Yeah.
Memory is massively affected by mental clutter for me. If I've got too much in my head at one time, everything goes out the window.
Yeah, 100%. And and I think that's part of the problem with like ADHD specifically. It's like, because I've had this conversation with Joe, and I'm like, what are you thinking about? And he's like, nothing, like literally nothing. And I'm like, what do you mean nothing? And like, And because I'll have like 15 things in my head at the same time, at least.
Yeah.
And then they'll all come out of my face at the same time. And poor Joe is just like trying to follow the thread of my conversation. But then he doesn't get it. And I'm like, but that's just on like a calm day. And if I'm anxious, it's like times 100. And then if you expect me to then, be able to get out the door on time or remember an appointment, it's just not going to happen. And yeah, it just makes me feel terrible. And we could segue this. I'm going to write a note that we can talk about next time. I'm just writing a note. There we go.
Okay. Oh, exciting.
Pathologically late. We'll come back to that another day. But yeah, it's like having mental clutter that just destroys your ability to retain information. And if it's boring information, then it's even more difficult.
It really is, isn't it? It really is. It's the most. Yeah, I can't do boring information.
No,
like I said, just trying to listen to a guy on a sort of a Zoom call I was having the other day. That was for my benefit. It wasn't a coaching call I was doing with somebody. I was listening.
I was going to say, you're outing yourself here with your clients.
So, the whole me trying to receive information about how to fill in certain forms, it was just like, don't even bother, mate. Don't bother.
No, and like people giving me verbal driving instructions, I'm like, please don't, because like, just don't. There is no point, and you will confuse me further. And like, as soon as you've said the first thing, which is go straight down the road, that's literally all I'm going to retain. And maybe the last thing, and all of the stuff in between is just going to go. So
I had that moment. I've had the moment where I've taken instruction from somebody and I've gone, okay, and walked off down the road, really hoping they weren't looking at where I was going next. It's like, don't watch me. I wasn't really listening. Sorry to waste your time.
You know what? I've actually started saying to people now, because I'm trying to be like more mindful about my own needs, my boundaries and stuff. I've actually started saying to people, like, and they'll be like, oh, you should go to this place. Here's where it is. And I'm like, I'm just going to stop you there. Please don't tell me where it is, because like, I can't, like, all I hear is blah, 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 blah. And, it's not you, it's me. I'm the problem. But please don't, because like, I'm trying to retain things that I actually need to know, and you're trying to tell me something that I don't need right now, and you're just gonna fire everything out of my head until I'm a big, sweaty, anxious mess. Well
done for actually, being mindful about that and putting that in place. I think that is something that you've obviously learned to do since diagnosis, is it, or just over the years in general?
Since diagnosis, really, because that was when I was like, I'd always before that I've been like, what's wrong with me? Like, am I rude? Because I kind of drift off, and also I find it difficult to look at people's faces as well if I'm trying to remember things. It's like I can either look at your face or I can pay attention, and I can't do the two. And but yeah, I was just like, and then I was thinking, you know what? It's not just like remembering the directions. It literally shoves everything out of my head. So actually, it's massively detrimental in more than just that way. It's like, it's not just that I'm not going to know where I'm going. I've got a GPS on my phone. I don't need your verbal instructions. But those verbal instructions will shove everything else out of my head as well. And then my anxiety at not being able to listen and take it in, and what are they going to think of me, and all of that stuff that you do in your head when, it's like, oh, they're going to think I'm rude. They're going to think I'm stupid. They're going to watch me going down the road and wondering where I'm going, even though they've just told me. And it's like, blah, 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 blah. And so instead of like having the stuff in my head that I actually need, I've then just got anxiety in my head, and that's not useful to anybody. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to I'm not going to prioritize somebody else's, I'm not going to placate somebody else's feelings in order to possibly destroy my entire next 2 hours. That's not cool. So no, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. And I think it also sort of makes reference to how self-esteem and self-worth can really be dented by ADHD. I've had so many times in the past where I've questioned my own intelligence and my own even just sticking power and good character. Yeah. And I know I've got evidence from the past where I know I'm not completely stupid, but I was doubting it. I was constantly doubting it, thinking, what the hell am I literally aging really quickly and becoming demented, or it's Do you know what? That's so funny. That's one of the things that I used to, and I've been saying this since I was in my 20s as well. And like, and then I would feel doubly guilty for being like, am I being really non-inclusive and like, you know, derogatory here about like older people? I would be like, is this early onset dementia? And I kind of make a joke of it and be like, oh lol, it must be early onset dementia. But like, I was genuinely worried about that because I was like, why can I not do the things like you just said? And then I would be like, oh, is this really, am I making fun of people with dementia? Which I wasn't, but you know what people can be like. And it was just like, and then I was like, but that's what it feels like. Like, that's literally what it feels like. And so it was such a relief to be like, no, you don't have early onset dementia, because who wants that? And no, you're not stupid. And, you know, it's this thing here, which I had never even thought about.
Yeah.
So
yeah. No, it's good. It's good to actually be able to remind yourself, isn't it? It's like, it's not anything that's like wrong with me as such. This is my difference. This is my beautiful difference.
Yes. And there are things that we are very good at, and remembering things is not one of them.
Yeah. Remembering random shit is good for me.
I was just about to say that. It's like it's not even forgetting everything. It's like I can remember my phone number from when I was a child. I can remember my godparents' phone number, my grandparents' phone number, my aunt's phone. None of these phone numbers exist anymore.
When Kev talks about it to me, he calls it the brown and white horse thing, because we were I think we were walking somewhere and he said, look at that lovely brown and white horse. I said, that's a skewbald. He said, what? I said, that's what you call it. That's what that brown and white horse is called. It's a skewbald. He said, how do you know that? I said, from when I was 7.
Yeah, from when I used to ride horses.
I know, there's this like weird stuff, and it's I can sort of like drag weird facts out of anywhere, really. It's not enough sort of massive general knowledge to win me a pub quiz or anything like that, but
no. But like, yeah, random stuff about like octopuses, and the fact that because horsey people are super pretentious, they like, it's not a white horse, it's a grey horse.
No, there is no such thing. Yeah, it's I was pretty mad about horses when I was little. That was one of my Were you?
Yeah, mad, absolutely mad about horses, and I hated it because we had no money. Our family was not well off, and so I got my riding lessons by working for my lessons. So I was like the poor kid at the stables, and there are all these like fancy, you know what it's like, the pony club lot, and they're horrible. Like, I know that's a sweeping generalization, but they're literally horrible. And then I grew up and they're the same, and they're very cliquey and they're unfriendly, and it's like if you were even remotely different or poor or, you know, anything, it's like ugh. And so when I say pretentious horsey people calling white horses great, it's like, yes. They made me feel like shit when I was a child, so up theirs.
Do you know what? There will be somebody watching this video who will be getting very upset right now. One of my very best friends, right, loves watching these videos. She's very, very horsey, but also, you know, she has never been one of these pretentious people. We were poor kids together. She was very lucky. She actually managed to have a horse, but it wasn't like a gymkhana pony. It was more like a farm thing.
I feel like though, if she's your friend, she can't be a wanker, because like you're really cool. So
she's not a wanker, but she is very particular about her words and her phrases and her terms. And she won't be happy about it at all. Yeah. So there are some horsey people who don't fit that mold, but I do know who you mean, because I used to go to gymkhanas too when I was little, and I wasn't rich when I was around all the Tabithas and stuff who were.
That's it. I just remember how many like I love the horses so much that I put up with it, but I just remember how much crying I did because of the people around me, and I was just like, so if anybody is listening to this and getting pissed off with me, then think of little me who used to cry a lot and put up with it because I wanted to go horse riding. And that's like another thing to think about, is like, why are the people around you different?
Yeah.
Like, you know, and you know, are we going to judge them for it? So I am 100% not apologizing for any of the things that I've just said.
Good.
And I'm also acknowledging that, of course, it's not all horsey people. Of course, it's not. But in my childhood, it was all of them.
All of them. Every goddamn one of them.
Yeah, I was literally my only friends with the horses, and even one of those used to stand on me on purpose. So.
Oh, we've all been there. Did you ever find though that the most obnoxious horsey people didn't really seem to like the horses either?
No, they didn't, and I was like, why are you even here? Like, why are you here? And yeah, it was really strange. So.
Piss off! Give me your beautiful pony. You don't appreciate it.
That was just what I used to think. It was like these people who are like A, really mean to me, and B, don't really seem to enjoy it. They've got these ponies that I would love. Like, I would have given anything to have my own pony. Yeah. And it's like, and that, I think that was the first time that I realized that the world was a deeply unfair and stupid place. And that actually doesn't matter how hard you work or how nice you are, does not necessarily mean you're going to get the things you want.
It means jack shit, actually, doesn't it?
Absolutely jack shit, yeah.
Yeah. So the secret of being happy in life is what?
God, I don't know, really. Like, take a lot of mushrooms and pretend the world is not actually there. Yeah. So that is disclaimer, don't do that. I don't know. Maybe it's the serenity prayer. Maybe it's the what is it? The courage to change the things I can, the whatever it is, and then the wisdom to know the difference.
Yeah, that's right. And I think that's been a big one for me growing up and getting older, is that I realized I've generally become a happier person because I've let go of trying to control shit I should never be trying to control.
Yeah.
And I think this whole ADHD diagnosis journey is all part of that. That's helped me let go of even more of the crap that I thought I should be nailing, you know.
Yeah.
It does make you feel serene. It makes you feel serene, like a beautifully organized wardrobe.
Yeah. And also, I think the other thing is, like, stop hanging out with people who make you feel like crap.
Yeah.
Like,
totally.
Yeah. If you can, obviously, not everybody is in a situation where they can do that. But if it's in your power to change the people you hang around with, and you're like, you have that one friend who every time you see them, you feel crappy afterwards, ask yourself, why am I continuing to see this person?
Yeah, of course, because you're right. There are some people that we can't magically exclude from our lives, whether we work with them or they're actually part of our family. So there is some self-management involved in a lot of that. But there are definitely people that you have choices about. Clients are people you have choices about. Doesn't always feel like it. If you haven't got a lot of money coming in and you're thinking, I've got to keep working with this person to pay my bills, it's harder to feel that ability to let go.
Yeah, but a way to reframe that, I reckon, would be, okay, I'm working with this person, and that's time that I can't then spend with another person who might be like lovely to work with. So there's the opportunity cost as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, it's all about getting rid of clutter, isn't it? People can be clutter too.
People can be clutter, yeah. And we outgrow people as well through no fault of their own. It's like relationships change and friendships change. And it's like, are we hanging on to stuff that has just run its course? And so, like, that is sad. Like, and I think it's okay to grieve those relationships because, you know, it is sad. But it's like, ultimately, is it worth, for both of you, the effort of kind of trying to keep it going, maybe when it's, you know, when it might not be? And then we're doing the same thing.
Yeah, I'm totally with you on that, because like I say, I've got probably just one friend who has fit me all the way through my life. And she's great. But there are definitely people that I don't know. I don't regret ever having them in my life, because you always learn things and you can enjoy people at certain points. But just like you say, to outgrow a relationship is quite a normal and natural thing to do, isn't it? Because we're all changing as we get older, and we make different choices.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, especially if you're a person, like, because we don't have kids, and we found that a lot of our friends who did go on to have kids, they didn't have any room in their lives for anything but their kids, which is I totally understand, that's fine.
Yeah.
But then it's like, well, I'm not really that interested in, you know, in the kiddie side of things. So it's like, is it worth kind of trying to keep that going? And it just becomes, for both of us, and it just becomes like, no, actually, that's cool. That part of your life is over, and that's fine.
Yeah, exactly. And any other kinds of ways people can just like outgrow each other, or
It's
just
geographically as well. Like,
graphically?
moved away from some friends that I was just like, oh yeah, we'll definitely keep in touch, and then we just didn't, because like,
Yeah,
you realize that actually you don't have that much in common, except for, you know, because for us it was going climbing with them every weekend, and that was really the only thing that we had in common. And they were great. We went on holiday with them, climbing holidays with them and everything, and we loved it, and they're great people, and we would just totally get on really well again if we fell back in. But it was like, it's interesting to find the things that hold you together.
yeah.
So,
And even things like changing jobs, or even if you're in business yourself, moving into different business groups and that kind of thing, and letting go of old relationships. It's almost like the ones that are meant to stay with you just do naturally, don't they? And it's like not being afraid to just shed your skin every now and again and just become a new person, is it?
yeah, actually, that's really interesting, because I wrote down something earlier that was like, the whole decluttering of wardrobe thing. Like, part of it, I think, is getting rid of old clothes, is like letting go of an idea of yourself that no longer exists.
Yes.
And it's the same with friends as well, like old friends and acquaintances and people. It's like, that version of me doesn't exist any longer, and so we don't fit anymore.
Yeah, and that is where the feeling of clutter can really come in, is where if you're going down a certain route and wanting to change as a person, and the people around you are trying to keep you stuck because that's where they're happiest with you.
Yeah.
That can feel really like a quicksand, can't it? Like, I can't change because everybody is having a problem with it. And I know that just bringing it right back to ADHD, it's one of the things that I had when I was going through my assessment, is people saying to me, well, why are you doing this? What difference is it going to make? Why do you want that label? And just not being particularly supportive. Not that I needed their support, but it was like, if you can't have anything good to say, then fuck off. That's how I felt.
Yeah, and it really is like, if this isn't like, it's not about not receiving constructive criticism.
Yeah.
It's like actually that's really unhelpful. So
Yeah,
either shut up, or say something supportive.
yeah. It's like, oh, people, I don't believe in ADHD. People will say that it's not a real thing. That kind of thing, you know. It's like, oh,
that's hilarious. That will get the reaction for like, well, I don't believe in your face. So it's just like, it's like, that's how stupid you sound when you say things like, I don't believe in ADHD. It's like,
it is, isn't it? It is. It's just like, oh, please. But there will be people watching this who may be thinking about, oh, perhaps that's me, and they don't get a lot of support from anybody around them, because that's the culture they're kind of born into. When I was going through depression in my 20s, my mum was very much like a pull yourself together sort of person. Even though I knew that she suffered from depression herself, she said, oh, I had therapy when I was young. It did nothing for me. All they asked me was about my sex life. It was nonsense. There's no such thing as depression. You just need to get on with it, pull yourself together. And that was, you know, I think she was trying to be loving in her own way.
Yeah. But it was unhelpful.
It really wasn't helpful at all. But the people who do love us are sometimes, you know, they're very well meaning and they want the best for us, but they're just sort of on a different page.
Yes.
You've got to stay on your own page.
Yeah. And if you can't get them to see that, then it's best to just not talk about that kind of thing with them at all, because it's just there's no point.
That's right. Yeah, because the more you try and convince them, the more entrenched they could become in their beliefs, because everybody wants to be right, let's face it.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, you say that, but like, I don't get that. So it's like, of course, like, I don't want to look stupid, which I think I do all the time. But But like, I have no problem saying, "Oh, I was wrong about that," and I don't get it when other people struggle. I'm just like, just grow up. And
Yeah.
it's like, what?
Yeah, but in effect, you know, that is your version of being right, is that it's right to be flexible.
Yeah, I suppose.
Flexible people wrong. Yeah, it's very complex, isn't it? It's very complex.
It's very complex.
Yeah, so there's so much to think about every day in our reactions when we're having a bad day. It's like, okay, let's unpeel this. Let's see if it's due to any clutter.
Yeah.
Like cluttered with things, people, or thoughts.
Yes, things, people, and thoughts. And now my brain is cluttered because it's been like churning on things, and now I'm like, oh, even though like, and now I'm worried that I've upset like the nice horsey people.
Should we just say a big apology to the nice horsey people right now, if they're still listening to us?
Well, I feel like if they're a nice horsey person, they probably wouldn't have got upset by that anyway, because like they haven't ever made a small girl cry.
Yeah.
So
and they'll probably understand, because they will undoubtedly have been exposed to a lot of twatty horsey people.
Yes.
You will know your pain.
Yes. But I'm still going to feel bad about it because that's how I roll. So,
well, you can make that choice not to be. You can make that choice to say, no, it was an important discussion that needed to be out there. All feelings are valid.
I don't know. I feel like not all my feelings are valid. Some of them are just stupid.
But I love talking to you about them. I'm gonna have to bring this to
yeah.
I'm due for my next call. But thank you again for sharing. I love these moments with you where we can just talk about how wild brains are.
Me too. Thank you. This has been a delight as always.
Yeah, and no doubt we will see the thumbnail come up on YouTube and go, did we really speak about that? Yes, we did.
Yeah. Which is actually what we're going to talk about, that we didn't at all.
No. That's us all over. Anyway.
Next time
on ADHD Ramblings, more stuff that we didn't know we were going to talk about.
Yay! And yeah, comment below if any of this rings a bell, or if you want to just share something and get something off your chest that somebody in your life will scoff at you for. You can do it here and we won't scoff at you.
We're probably just going to get comments from horsey people who are offended. I'll see you next week, Vix.
Bye!
Bye.